All right, so today I am joined by Michael Allen. He is the Chief Marketing Officer at Masimo Consumer, home to a wide range of audio, home entertainment, and personal healthcare brands. During his career, Mike has led agencies including 180 globally and TBWA, Chiat, San Francisco, and was a marketing director at Nike. He's got deep experience across a number of consumer categories, including electronics, athletic footwear and apparel, automotive, fashion, and many, many more. And he has worked on a very impressive list of global brands, including Apple, Honda, Adidas, Sony, HP, Ray-Ban, and many, many more as well. Mike, welcome.
Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So let's kick things off. We'd love to hear a little bit more about your past. Can you walk us through a little bit about any significant moments in your life that led to where you're at here today in the C-suite at Masimo, and anything maybe in your upbringing that's relevant, education, early influences, any of that?
Yeah, probably early television. Just watching, whether it was from the 50s, things I studied in college about shows that were sponsored by advertisers like the Texaco Theater. Just sitcoms I enjoyed watching, like the Dick Van Dyke Show. And a lot of those things included people in the field of advertising, and it just seemed like a lot of fun. And so I grew up in a very rural part of San Diego County, and was able to go to school in Los Angeles at UCLA. So I felt like I could pursue something like that. And I did. I originally wanted to be an attorney, but in the orientation they said, "Well, pick another career just in case that doesn't work out. So, and we can help you pick your courses." And so I said advertising, and they steered me into a communication studies major, and the rest is kind of history. Had great internships during college at NBC, Chiat Day, and so got a lot of exposure to the world of sort of marketing and advertising, and kind of just took off from there.
That's great. So you're a Bruin, growing up in that area. So tell me a little bit. I had read or saw somewhere else that you actually got your first job at BBDO by cold calling them. Is that right?
I did. Yeah. Yeah. So my first job out of college wasn't in advertising because the offers were very low and I was broke. I knew that's what I wanted to do, but I took a job actually in finance because I'm pretty good with numbers. And as part of that job, I ended up cold calling a lot of CFOs, treasurers, controllers, and I got very comfortable just picking up the phone and calling people and starting conversations. So I knew I wanted to get into advertising. It was very hard to break in, just like it is still. And so, yeah, I just started cold calling SVPs, anyone I could get on the phone. And I managed to talk my way into BBDO. I think I spent about $1,000 on phone bills, which was a ton of money for me back then. But yeah, I got in the door at BBDO.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So have you always had that sort of tenacity? Because I think that's not something most people would think about doing. I mean, especially, back, years ago. I think now it's a little bit easier. You jump online, you can send off, a bunch of resumes, but to sit down and cold calling, sounds like there was something in you, some sort of grit and perseverance that you had.
Yeah, pretty fearless, I guess. I got that from my mom. She was 5'6" and just a tiny body, but her spirit and her personality were huge. And she wasn't afraid of anything. And she would always just say, "Really proud of you. I know you can do it." And that was it. It wasn't like tell you how to do it. It wasn't like I'll be here to pick you up when you fall, even though she was. It was just like, "Oh, I know you got this." So I just go, "Okay, I guess I have this." And so yeah, I just we didn't have much growing up, so I knew I wanted to try to be successful. So there was a lot of drive in there, just personal ambition to do well and take care of people around me. So I guess that was part of it. But yeah, and the other thing is I like people. I like people who are good people, and so I kind of I'm drawn towards people who are really good, and I try to hire people who are really good people. And so if I can just get another good person on the phone, I feel like I could build a relationship, which is what I did.
Sure, sure. That's great. So great story about your mom. So you landed at BBDO, and then you would later move on to 180 and help build that from the ground up. Walk us through that path that you took there.
Yeah, there was a journey. So I'm at BBDO. I'm working on Apple. Applied to law school still because I believe it or not, Apple back in the day, and this was way back in the day. This was like the power to be your best Apple. It was really cool, but very techy, very crunchy category. And for me, I really wasn't that into it at the time. I was more into cars and other categories. So applied to law school, picked 3 or 4 top law schools, got waitlisted on one, didn't get into the others. And at the same time, I got recruited to go to Ruben Pasteur and work on Honda. And I kind of just rediscovered my love for advertising because I was working on a category that I really liked, cars. And I've spent a ton of my career working on automotive brands, which has been amazing. But from there, I was working there, and there was an ad from Nike looking for category ad managers up in Portland. And I love sports as well as cars, probably a little bit more. So I'm like, that would be amazing to get client side experience, but also just go work for Nike because I love that brand, always have. And I got my way into Nike somehow, got an interview, got hired, and went there. And I was there for 5 years in Portland, and then a couple years in Canada, Nike Canada, and then got recruited from there to go to Chiat. So I went back into advertising, also working on cars, where I ran Nissan and Infiniti. That was before Omnicom bought 180. And when I was at Chiat, they actually came to me, leaded, and Tom Carroll, and they asked me if I would help the agency pitch Adidas in partnership with an agency called 180 that was in Amsterdam. And so we pitched the business, we won, and I actually worked on Adidas globally for 13 years, so almost twice as long as I worked at Nike. And as part of that journey, I moved over to 180, opened the LA office of 180, and then eventually ran the agency both in LA and Amsterdam.
Wow, what a great journey, and what some great brands that you were
That's
blessed to
pretty
be
fun.
involved
Pretty
with.
fun.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
you
I
have
think
this.
sorry, I just want to say what I appreciate most about that journey and the experience is that it's scary sometimes to make those types of moves. They're big moves. But I remember I was in Herzogenaurach, Germany, after we'd won the Adidas business, and I was walking. Their headquarters are an old U.S. Army base, and I was walking on that property to a big global marketing meeting we were having. I was by myself, and it started snowing. It was like in February, and I was just like, wow, if I'd never taken that step, if I never just sort of put myself out there to do something different, I wouldn't have been in that moment. And it was pretty cool. I think there's a lot of people have moments like that, but that was one for me where I just went, I'm glad that I'm doing something different.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's great. So you've seen it both on the client side and the agency side. Now you're back on the client side. Curious, now that you've been on both sides, what are the pros and cons to each? What are some of the differences? Curious your perspective there.
Yeah. Well, great question. For me, the thing I loved about running agencies is that you spend a larger percentage of your day around creativity and creative people. When you get on the client side, there's that, and it comes in different forms, whether it's product developers, designers, merchandisers, things like that. But from a Marcom's perspective, you get to spend more time around the fun stuff, I guess. And on the client side, you get pulled in at this level to a lot of business things as well, which is good because you're able to contribute because you have the experience to do so. You don't get to do the creative stuff as much. So that's a key difference. And one of the things that inspired me about this job is that they're actually looking for me to come in and help do more of that. So the equation is a little more balanced here for me across all the brands we have and the new opportunities that we're pursuing in consumer health. So I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm really loving that balance. But yeah, that was the primary difference I think I noticed when I moved back from Nike into the advertising world.
Sure, sure.
Yep.
Do you recommend as a career progression that someone on agency side does go client side or vice versa? Do you think it makes them better at what they do?
I don't think it makes them better. It's a great perspective to have if you work at an agency, knowing how client organizations work and vice versa. I just think I've always encouraged people just follow what they're passionate about. And if they want to go do it, go do it. Don't feel like you have to. There are plenty of people who've made careers on either side and done incredibly well. That's because that's what they're passionate about and that's what they're really good at. So yeah, I try to same thing with my kids. The people I've mentored over the years, I just try to figure out what they're passionate about, and then I help them kind of put the gas down and just go.
Yeah, yeah, great advice. So that's a great lead in. I understand that you are very passionate about coaching and mentorship. Would love to hear, how you give back and what your experience has been, what you get out of it.
I get to see people kind of come into their own and do well, which is something that I did on my own. I didn't really have a ton of mentorship at the beginning in terms of, hey, try this field of advertising. Hey, you might be good at this. I kind of pushed myself into it, and then once I got in, I found some people who I really looked up to and became mentors, and that just made me realize that I enjoy doing that. I enjoy helping people, and like I said, figuring out what they're once they figure out what they're passionate about, just help them. It's I never would hire an executive assistant in my whole career. I would just hire people out of school who wanted to break into the business. And yeah, they'd have to do some of the administrative work they didn't want to do, but I always challenge them to do other things. And, I'm just very proud. I mean, I have people who've gone on to run agencies, who run global marketing organizations. It's people that are very senior at PR firms. It's just really rewarding to see them go so far. And to know that I had a little bit of a hand in kind of getting them started and pointing them in the right direction in terms of challenging themselves, building their skill sets, leaning into their passion, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's awesome. I mean, I enjoy being a dad too, and it's very similar, right? So both come complete with bad puns, so don't get me started on that.
We won't go there. That's great. So let's switch gears a little bit on a lighter note. You mentioned earlier sports, cars, passion. You've talked about your kids. When you're
Yeah.
not handling marketing, what are some of your passions?
Well, I recently bought a ski boat. I grew up water skiing, and so it's really fun. I'm learning to park it. I can drive it. Parking it in the dock is a whole nother story. So I'm getting better at that. I need more time behind the wheel, as they say. Um, I ride motorcycles. I enjoy that a lot. For me, that's for a lot of people, it's scary. For me, it's relaxing because I grew up doing it. So I just can get out on the road and just drive and not really think about anything other than, making sure people around me don't do anything stupid that's going to get me hurt. But yeah, so those are my passions. Love spending time with my wife and my kids. Um, Family time's very important to me. But yeah, my alone time, if I can just get on a motorcycle or out on a boat, I'm pretty happy.
Just go. That's great. Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. All right, so let's shift gears here again. Let's talk about we talked about your past. Let's talk about where you're at today. You're the CMO of Masimo Consumer, which again has got a really exciting lineup of wearables and hearable products. I'm sure there's a lot of people listening to this right now who may not have heard of the company. They might be familiar with some of the brands, but maybe not the parent company. Tell us a little bit about the company and some of the offerings.
Yeah, great. Yeah, so I hadn't heard of Massimo either. In fact, that's one of our biggest challenges is just awareness. But it's essentially today a B2B brand that's grown up in hospitals and healthcare. And we make amazing sensors, and that sensor technology has saved and improved a lot of lives over the years. And so the amazing part of that for me is that I get to be part of a brand that exists to really improve lives and help people. And that's very important for me, especially at this stage of my career. And now what they're doing is they're taking that same amazing technology and we're bringing it into consumer, like you said, wearables, hearables, and we're able to leverage the audio brands that were acquired about a little over a year ago. So Bowers and Wilkins and Moran's and Denon and Polk and others. And so the world that Joe Chiani, our CEO and founder, envisions for how those technologies come together to help people from the hospital now into the home and build a system in your home around home health and telehealth and everything you can imagine is just amazing. The ideas, the product pipelines that we have coming out are things I never would have imagined. But now that I'm part of it and I can see how it's going to really help people, and not just from a health perspective. Improving lives for us is also helping people enjoy life. And a lot of our audio brands are just, they're world class. So whether it's our soundbars or speakers, our in-home systems, our headphones, our earbuds, we have just amazing premium and luxury products. So I get to come in and sort of help imagine where those brands can go and help imagine how Massimo can help change the landscape of what people are going to be able to buy and have in their homes. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, great. Love to know, like, what is one of those products you're especially excited about?
So we just launched what's called the Denon Pearl, which is an earbud. You can check it out. I don't know if you can get one. We're selling out pretty quickly, but we're building up the volume in production. But it's basically an earbud that uses adaptive acoustic technology that's been developed on the Masimo side, and it puts it into the amazing sounding Denon earbud. And each person, when you put it in your ear, it actually customizes the sound for your personal listening. So, and that does that through the technology that basically measures the sound waves and how you hear them and how that connects back to your sort of your personal perfect sound and how you hear music, for example. So you'll put yours in, it'll develop your own profile, and then you'll have an experience that's almost like perfect hearing because it's adapted to how you hear things. If you gave that same pair of earbuds to a spouse or a friend or one of your kids to try, they would probably go, well, that doesn't sound great to me. You know, what's going on? And in my case, they might say, oh, your hearing's that bad. But they do their own and have their own profile, and then it's perfected for them as well. So I'm pretty excited about that because it's one of the first times we're marrying the technology and the experience and the heritage of Masimo into an audio brand that has similarly impressive technology and heritage.
Yeah, that's great. I'll have to check that out. So you mentioned a couple of the brands here. Obviously when you're working at Nike, Nike's one brand. Stepping into the role that you're at now, you're dealing with a portfolio of brands.
Yeah.
Curious, how does one tackle a house of brands like that?
A lot of years running agencies. I've worked on a number of brands at the same time in very different categories, and so it takes work to get your IQ level up within those categories and brands to really contribute, and that's what I've been focused on in the first 5-6 weeks on the job here is learning what we have and learning how we do things and being able to take that and eventually contribute at a pretty high level. So yeah, it's just it takes a lot of work, and you have to be able to wear a lot of different hats. I learned early on that being a good listener is incredibly important. So I'm a very good listener. I've right when I got here, I scheduled probably 25 one-on-ones with key people across the company, and just started to understand what they do and some of the heritage that we have on these brands, some of the product plans that we have. So that's been good. So just reaching out, being a good listener, and then involving myself in a lot of meetings that probably aren't going to be part of my day to day, like future product planning meetings and things like that, where I can get a look out a few years as to what's coming. It's a very collaborative team here. They've really pulled me in to help me understand that, and that's going to put me in a position to do a better job for the stuff that we're putting into market now.
Sure. Yeah, very important to meet those teams, find out who those allies are going to be that you're
Yeah.
going to work with as well. So all part of that process. So with that said, I'm curious about maybe some of the KPIs that are central, to your role. Can you kind of walk us through, them? First off, also, is this a new role for Massimo, or is there somebody that has already been here before? And just kind of curious, what are some of the main objectives with you coming in?
Yeah, so it's a new role for Masimo Consumer, but it's not a new role for the company. They have a CMO. We have a CMO on the healthcare side, professional side, and I collaborate with her quite a bit. But it's new on the consumer side. And for me, obviously, one of the big metrics is awareness for Masimo as a consumer brand, because we are there and we're incredibly well known and well respected amongst hospitals, clinicians, and that whole side of the business in healthcare. But we are not known on the consumer side. And so we need to get out there and tell our story. We need to leverage the things that we're known for, and also bring in some other brands that have other incredible qualities to help build this brand. So number one is growing awareness. Obviously, there's a commercial side to the business. I also oversee our commercial excellence team, so it's not just about the brand team, brand marketing, but I oversee commercial excellence as well. So very tied into what our teams are doing in the go-to-market space. Also, our direct-to-consumer team. We've got people on the ground, and we've got people here in Carlsbad. We got offices around the world, and so I'm very tied into what we're doing commercially as well, and what our objectives are as a company. So the key imperatives that we're trying to drive. So ultimately, we judged by how well we do in getting the Masimo name out there and standing for the things that we believe in, and how well we continue to get the Bowers and Wilkins and Denon and other audio brands out there and grow upon the amazing reputations that they have. So I'm excited about it because, there's amazing growth potential within this company. I joined Nike when they were a $3 billion company, and I was there 7 years. And in that 7 years, they grew to 10 billion. And now they're probably, I don't even know, 75, 80 billion, somewhere in there. I'm not sure. But I see that type of growth opportunity here because I feel like we're just on the front edge of some very big trends in what's going on in consumer health. People are now empowered more than ever after the pandemic to care about and take care of themselves and their health. And they've started getting used to using technology, whether that's a telehealth call or whatever devices they buy to measure their key vitals if they have some existing conditions, right? So people are now more than ever conscious of the fact that they can play a big role in maintaining their personal health and well-being. And we're building products that help them do that. So I just see huge potential here.
Yeah, yeah, seems like a good moment in time, no doubt. So obviously a lot of work ahead. You're just starting there. You've run agencies obviously before. Tell me about your internal team. Are you looking to build an in-house team? Are you working with other agencies? Talk a little bit about how this is all coming to life for you.
Yeah, great question. We have an internal creative services team that I also oversee. Pretty good sized team. We handle most of the sort of mid to lower funnel things as well as retail execution, and in store and that sort of thing. We have designers, we have writers, we have art directors. We run projects for all the different audio and consumer health brands here. But we also employ agencies around the world, particularly to help with the big launches and some of the sort of upper funnel, I would say into the mid funnel as well, campaigns that we do, but certainly the higher spend campaigns. I'm a huge believer that the best agencies in the world have the best creative talent. And I know there's been a couple of brands who've been successful building internal creative resources, but if you look at the best, even like Apple, they still work with Media Arts Lab, right? So there's a great combo of talent that they're able to put against their initiatives, and that's what I want to do here as well. So we'll continue to work with outside agencies, and we will, including PR, by the way, but we also will continue to build our internal team so that we can handle more things that might be a quicker turn or lower budget or just things that extend things we've already done things like that. So I am building up the talent here. I'm pretty excited about that. And, we'll be able to do more and more things as we grow. But yeah, I'll have both internal creative team as well as outside agencies.
Sure, sure. So you mentioned a little bit about, the creative side, but what attributes do you seek when you're working with an agency partner?
Can I say it? I don't want any assholes. Can I say that?
You can say whatever you want. Yeah.
In terms of creative talent, sorry, in terms of creative people that I want to work with, I mean, the best experiences of my career have been with obviously incredibly talented people who are also good people. I built an agency, 180, with a guy named William Gellner, who's amazing. I've been able to work with huge talent throughout my career, like Lee Clow, Dan Wyden, Steve Hayden, Chuck McBride, among others. And they're all really they're in it because they're passionate about the work, and they're also good people. And they're fun to work with, and they're gracious. They push for what they believe in, which is awesome, but they're not arrogant about it. And so I look for that in creative partners. That's
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. This should be fun, right? We're not doctors curing cancer here. We should be having fun. Although you guys got some great products that can definitely help improve lives. So
Yeah.
so as you know, the market is changing rapidly, more than ever before. Curious, how you stay on top of these trends and industry news. Are you a social media guy that follows it there? Are you going to conferences? How do you stay on top of all these changes?
My kids, they're dialed in. And the sort of the people on the team here, we have social media managers, community managers, people who are in analytics, people are in strategy and insights. I'm lucky that I'm surrounded by people who can make sure that we're up to speed within all the brands. We have pretty complete teams, and that's their job. And so I get to be part of presentations and conversations where it's very clear that the people on our team are on the cutting edge of what's going on, whether it's products or technology or what consumers are looking for. We do a lot of research, as probably won't surprise you. And we do a very good job, I think, of combining product insights along with consumer insights. And so by the time we're writing briefs and talking to agencies, we have a pretty good stable of information that we can draw from. And it gives me the confidence that we're on point at all times. So I'm just lucky to have those people around me. I dabble a little bit in social media, but it's just really the people around me that keep me up to speed on that stuff. So
Sure, that's great.
yeah.
Well, back to getting those creative people and those good people around you, and
Yeah.
and everything else falls into place. Great. Well, we're almost up on time here. I'm curious if there's anything that I haven't asked you that I should have asked you.
That's a good question. I don't know. when I got here, one of the things I did is I just pulled the team together and I just said, these are the things I believe in. So I guess a good question would be when you take on a role like this, and it's a big company, lots of different brands, a lot of people that I'm responsible, for leading. What I did is I just sat down with everybody and said, okay, these are the 10 things, kind of my values, my principles that have guided me my whole career, and I went through them. And I told stories on each one of them and why I believed it was important. And I think it was a really nice sort of handshake coming in the door. I think people just felt like he's here for the right reasons. I know what he stands for. I know what he expects. And, I don't know. Again, it's one of those things where I'm not afraid to sort of pick up the phone or walk in a door or whatever and just say, hey, here's who I am. Let's get going. So that's something I did, and I would encourage other people, and I'm sure they do, when you start a role like this and it's a little bit overwhelming. I just kind of step in with who I am and tell people that, and then get going.
So where can people go to find out more about you or follow the great work you're going to be doing at Masimo?
Yeah, so I've been fairly active on LinkedIn with a lot of the things we're doing. In fact, you asked about the product, the Den and Pearl. I just reposted something on that on my LinkedIn, so you could find it there. You can definitely go to our social channels. Each one of the brands has its own social channel. We're launching another amazing product next month. It's called the Masimo Stork, which is a baby monitor that you can leave the hospital with. Hospital grade baby monitor. Think about that. You go home as a new parent, you're freaked out, and you've got a little booty that goes on your baby, and it's connected to an app on your phone and a camera in the baby's room, and you can track everything you want to. So you can just keep following our product introductions. I'll make noise about them on my LinkedIn. We'll make noise about them on our social channels. So that's where to go.